Terry so that you know who she is and her credentials. So give me just a minute here. And I am going to tell you. So let's see. So Terry, her professional career started when she was working in education and nonprofits. When she started trading stocks 9 years ago, she initially saw that there was an opportunity to simply supplement her income. However, she was so successful with this side hustle that in 2017, she decided to quit her job, travel the world and begin trading full time. While traveling, Terry was constantly asked how to show others how she was successfully trading, in the stock market. So she set up and taught her first class in Thailand. I didn't know that, Terry. Her second in Vietnam, and had a fully fledged curriculum created by the time she returned to the States. Terry now offers an online curriculum that shares her investing strategies with people all over the world. She also partners with organizations and companies to train and empower individuals to achieve financial freedom and build wealth through investing. Terry received her bachelor's degree in management science from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and her master's in media and communications from Dallas Theological Seminary. She was named 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year by the National Black Association or MBA Association, and was the grand champion of Teachable's 2019 Creator Challenge. And then you'll be able to reach her on Instagram at Imani Investor or online at the itradeandtravel.com. So she's going to tell you a lot more about who she is and all the fantastic things she does. And Terry, I'm going to let you take it away.
I love it. Thanks, Candace. Here, I'm going to share my screen. Now, guys, it says host disabled participant.
Sure, let me do that.
Make me a co-host, I guess. But guys, so Candace sent me over a couple questions before we started, and I think the way that we can do it tonight, because I'm sure y'all don't want to just be on a regular webinar, probably have been on several before, but I want to share a little bit about just how I trade, and then we can go into some question and answer between Candace and I. But one of the questions that she sent me was like, how much have you, like, what's your best day? Like, how much have you made in a day? And so one of my best days was recently I made over $200,000 in a day. And then she asked me, and what about your students? Well, how much have your students made? And one of my students actually recently sent me a trade that he did, and he made $356,000 in a day. Crazy. So yeah. So that's kind of like why we wanted to make sure to bring this to you all, because we know that you're so essential to everybody, but at the same time, many of you guys, and maybe Candace, you can speak to this too, of like why someone like would want to know about how to trade stocks. But what I would imagine is that if you're here on this call, you're just looking for like some options. It's nice to be able to have another way to make income or another way to bring in money, so that if something were to happen with your profession, or if you did decide like, hey, I'm tired, I just want to be able to not work so many hours, you have something to fall back on. Could anybody say that's something that would be good for you? And Candace, maybe you can speak to what are some reasons why you thought it'd be good to talk to doctors today?
Sure, absolutely. When I talk to a lot of my colleagues, a lot of us network on a certain board, especially during COVID-19, hospitals have not been able to do things that let them normally make money. For example, elective surgeries, or just even elective procedures, or people coming in for just regular doctor's appointments. So people in my profession are making less money. The hospitals are making less money. As a result, employed physicians will have a salary cut. This can be devastating. So trading is another option to bring in a stream of revenue, so that if anything like this were to happen again, the stress would be minimal to none, because you have the stream of revenue that Terry would teach you how to do, and I'll let you continue.
Yeah. Well, and I would love to hear too while I bring up my slides for you, Candace, how has it impacted your life? Because I know you've told me a little bit about your success too. So
Sure.
trading impacted you?
So I started with your class, your first class in October of 2019. So in my first trade, I just started using $500. And the first time I traded with that, I made 42 cents. I was so excited about that 42 cents because I realized I could make money. So that grew and grew. And to the point where in the month of May, I was able to I no longer at this point have to rely on an income from anyone else. I am living off of the earnings from my trading.
Nice. Nice.
So my kids like that.
And that's huge because you're a doctor.
Yeah.
Your income is substantial for you to say like I'm now living off the income of my trading. That's huge.
It is. It's a really tremendous feeling. And first, I want to say thank you, Terry, because you are responsible for a lot of the success. I mean, you are. So thank you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I love that. I absolutely love that. So this is not going to be, like I said, your regular webinar. I do want you all to participate with me because it's Sunday night. So how about this? Can y'all tell me in the chat, what would an extra $200 a day, or how would an extra $200 a day impact your life? And I know that might sound small, but an extra $200 a day, let me make sure that my slides are working there, is actually an extra $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year. So how would an extra $48,000 that you didn't really have to work too hard for, you didn't have to go into an office, help your life? I love it, Keely. She said, pay for baby diapers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. What else? Y'all know I'm in education. I'll wait. I'm that teacher that's like, I'm going to wait till you guys respond to me.
There's one from Nicole. It would mean less work hours and more time with my kids. Very important.
I love it. And he says, allow me to invest more or pay for travel and other things I need or desire.
That's right.
Yes. Tiffany says it would help with debt reduction. Yes. So guys, I actually paid off all of my student loans with trading stocks. And then I've now paid off most of my mortgage. I have a rental property in Chicago. I've paid off most of that mortgage. And then I'm about to buy a house now with cash because of trading and being able to teach others to trade. So yes, definitely.
Wonderful.
Okay. For all those that are responding, where you put in your chat comments, put all panelists and attendees, or select all panelists and attendees. That way you can see each other's comments. But we can see them because they're coming to us. So thank you guys so much. So that's so awesome. I'm so glad that you guys put in those answers, because what it would do for me, it's totally travel. And can y'all see that? Candace, can you see that picture?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. That is me. I was in Italy at the time. That was just living my best life. I cannot wait for Corona to leave us so we can start traveling again. But one of the things that it did for one of my students, so this is Alex and Selenia, is it helped them to have quality time with family, and then also it helped her replace her income too. So if you see Selenia there, she used to be in corporate law. And just recently she texted me and said that she's too, just like you, Candace, she's been able to replace her income, her corporate law income, with trading. And that's given her the ability to have more time with her husband. Like, they actually had to work in separate cities because her job was in one city and his job was send him to another. So they were having to do like a long distance relationship. But after she learned how to trade, she was able to quit her job and then move to the city where he was. So that's the kind of like impact that trading can have on your life. And then for somebody here, someone said, that's right. Oh, that's you, Candace. That's right, Emma. For someone here, I know even as we're talking about this, you're thinking, well, Terry, I feel like you have to have a lot of money to trade. That's a big myth that happens. And the answer is no, you don't have to have a lot of money to trade. You can start with any amount. And I'm both a day and swing trader. So I also want to break that myth. Some people have heard really negative things about day trading. Well, the way that I trade is day and swing trading. So it's not as risky as just trying to make it happen in one day. We have a whole system that will allow you to trade and just make money consistently. And you don't, as I was saying here, so this is Carlene and her family. And Carlene actually is getting married. Candace, I don't know if you know that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay.
She had to cancel the wedding because of COVID. But like her and her fiance are doing really well. And so if you see here in the picture, her account size is 187. So she's trading with a very small amount, but you see how her profit is $20. Guys, that's an 11% return. And I don't know any retirement account that's giving you 11% return in a day. Or even if someone's trading for you, a lot of times they're not giving you those kind of returns. The average return for the market a year is 8 to 10%. So she just beat the market's returns in her one trade. And just imagine she's trading with $200. As that money continues to grow and she puts more and more money in there, it's a skill set. So now she has the skill set, she can keep making it grow.
Exactly.
So if you're here, and this thing is kind of going a little slow for me. Hold on one second. Let me try to. I'm going to share my screen one more time, see if it can do a little better. There we go. So if you're here, you're probably wondering one of these things. So you're wondering, is now the right time for me to invest? If you've never invested before, you're wondering, is it possible for me to actually make money in the stock market? You're wondering, I'm not sure why it's not going. Go. There we go. What should I invest in? I don't know where to start, or how much do I need to get started? And you think you probably don't have enough money. But here are the 4 secrets that we'll cover today. And as I said, we're not going to do the whole webinar. I'll actually give you guys a link to see the whole webinar. But I want to cover some of these points high level, and then Candace and I will do a bit of an interview, and you guys can ask me questions too. Because there's not very many of us, so this can really be a candid conversation, and we can really talk about what questions you really have. So, yeah, so some of the quick secrets that I want to cover with you, though, is how do you trade in an unfair advantage, even if you have never invested before? So, and I know that's probably one of the things that you've heard. People who invest, especially those day and swing traders, they lose money. Well, how, Terry, are you winning? That's what we'll talk about. Secret number 2, the number one way you can protect your investments and make money even if the market goes down, which I do expect it will again. Secret number 3, the top 5 investing mistakes all new traders need to avoid. And then secret number 5 is how can you make $1,000 a day without spending your entire day online monitoring your trades? Because I know you guys don't have time for that. As doctors, you don't have time to spend just looking at your trades all day. So why is this important for you right now? And we just talked about it. Like Candace said, I'm going to zoom through these. But like Candace said, that right now, because of coronavirus, many of the elective surgeries have been on hold. Some doctors have been furloughed. Just there's not as much security right now. So it's always good to have that extra income. And I'm sure that many of you have probably realized how much more you need to take better care of your finances due to the uncertainty in our economy. Everything just stopped all at once in March, and now we got to figure out how to bring some control back into our own lives, right? So it doesn't have to be that way. So imagine if you're in control of your own situation and didn't have to worry about a boss calling you into a last-minute meeting, risking your health as an essential worker, too much time away from your loved ones, and we all know this list goes on and on. And imagine if you knew how to invest your paycheck, stimulus check, unemployment, or even your 401k to consistently make money in the stock market with confidence. Well, let me tell you what happened to me. I'm going to explain a little bit more about myself, as Candace said. So this is my crew of friends about 10 years ago. I had this really, really awesome crew in Chicago. We would do everything together. And all of a sudden I found out that my friend John passed away. And this was,
Oh,
this is when we were about 31. So he had passed away and he had like a young daughter. And you guys know, and you all I think would know even more than this. So he passed away from strep throat. And you know, you're not supposed to pass away from strep throat, but he got the wrong medicine at the hospital. He was allergic to it, and his lungs ended up shutting down. So it was just one of
sorry.
those, yeah, it was just one of those, like, rain, like it just came out of nowhere.
Mm.
And at the time that I got the message, I was in one of those jobs where I hated. And I love the kids. I was an assistant principal of an elementary school at this time. I love the kids, but it just was not a good environment. It was not a good, healthy environment for me. Like my boss had quit 2 weeks before I started, so I didn't have anybody to train me. I was working all the time. So I was working nights, weekends, and summers. Then I had a new boss, and that boss was super petty. Like she would just pick the smallest things to nitpick about. Like, for example, I remember there was this one project I did where I put up all these posters in the hallway because we were going to do a big event with the kids. And she comes by and says, like I had actually been hearing rumors that she thought something was wrong with the operations. So I go and I talk to her and I'm like, well, you know, what was the problem? Let me know so I can fix it. And she was like, well, you had one thumbtack that was the wrong color.
My God.
What? So
It's
you've been
insane.
spreading these rumors to every, you know, not rumors, but like, you know, the principal and all these people you've been talking to about how I'm not doing a good job. And it's because not even me, but my janitor put one thumbtack that was the wrong color on the wall. Like, just, like, I just couldn't. I couldn't. So if anybody watches Insecure, like I
Oh.
felt like Issa Rae and her "We Got Y'all" job. I was underpaid. I was unappreciated. I was misunderstood. I was not satisfied. Like it was horrible. And then on top
Mm-hmm.
of this, my friend passed away. So I needed an exit strategy. And for me, what I decided is that the exit strategy would be investing in the stock market. And some of you guys are going to wonder, like, Terry, how did you go from education to the stock market? But at MIT, so I went to undergrad at MIT, and they funnel us basically into consulting or into banking, investment banking. So I did an internship, and Candace, I'm going to mute your line. Or would you mind muting me?
Sure.
I did an internship at Morgan Stanley in college. So I had seen investment banking, heard about it, saw how everything was running, but I just had decided this other path. So I had gone into consulting, and then one of our clients was Teach for America. So that's how I had gotten on the education path. But during that time, I had always still traded on the side because I knew that it was a way to make income and I was interested in it. I just didn't do it as a career. So when I needed an exit strategy, I said, wait, I know that there are people out there making money from the stock market. And I also know that all I need to replace my income is $300 a day. And Candace and I, before the event started, we figured out the numbers. We were saying for many of you all, you probably just need about $500 a day, because $500 a day is $2,500 a week, $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year just from $500 a day. So if you could just make $500 a day, then that could really free your life. And for me, it was 300. I just needed to make $300 a day. And so I started working myself up. So I said, okay, let me first see if I can get positive. Let me just invest some stocks and see if I don't lose. Then, okay, let me go for $100 a day. I started getting consistent with that. Then $200 a day, then $300 a day. And I was like, oh, shoot, I can leave now. So I did. That summer, my principal called me back. He's like, are you ready for the new year? And I was like, no, I'm leaving. Bye, y'all. So I started traveling all over the world. So this is me in Australia. That had been on my bucket list forever. and I was like, I want to go to Australia. And these are all the places that I went when I was traveling. So like I went and I stayed in, like, first place I went was way over here. So I was in like South Korea for a month, Thailand for a month, Vietnam. This is Thailand, actually. This is Vietnam. I did Japan, Australia, and all these times I was staying for like a month at a time. And then I came back home. That's when I did that first class teaching people how to trade, because they had seen all my pictures on Instagram and they were like, Terry, wait, what are you doing? Teach us. We need to know how to do this too. So this was my first class, and I thought that it would be a one-time thing. Little did we know, hence Candace here, that it would continue. Praise God for that, though. It's been really blessing the lives of a lot of people. But yeah, so I was everywhere. This is me on the beach in Mykonos. I was trading. I made $20,000 on my cell phone sitting on the beach looking at the water that day. And I was trading Chipotle. Just if you wanted to know. But that's why I think this is so important, because trading and investing in stocks in general gives freedom. You can really do what you want to do with your life. So during this time, as I said, I want to just reveal those 4 secrets to you. And then let me give you this link right now. If you all go to itradeandtravel.com, that's itradeandtravel.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to be zipping through some of these things so that we can have time to just do our little candid fireside chat. But if you all want to see this whole presentation, I'm going to put it here, itradeandtravel.com. So this whole presentation is at itradeandtravel.com. It's a recording, so it's not as fun because I'm live with you now. But I think it'll be really cool if we got a chance to just talk through some things, right? But here's some of the things that I want to cover with you real quick. Let's go over these 4 secrets, and then I'll open it up for our question and answer time. And Candace is going to interview me. She's like, I want to ask you some questions just for us doctors. So I'm like, okay, got it. All right. So once again, we'll talk through these 4 secrets. And so let's go. So secret number 1 was how to trade stocks at an unfair advantage, even if you've never invested before. And here are some of the answers to that. So many people, like I used to, think that you need to have a lot of money to invest in the stock market. And I found that that's absolutely not true. Not at all. And then here are some of the secrets of ways that you can get around that. So 1, I think it's important that you invest in value companies that are best in breed. And what does that mean? That means that the companies that we're investing in, they're companies that a longer term investor, a buy and hold investor, would also probably think these were good for their portfolio too. But we're just going to be trading in and out of them to make money as they go up and down. Right? So we're not picking penny stocks. And I know you've probably heard some other things like, well, what about Forex? And nope, we're still trading stocks, but we're trading value companies that are best in breed. And best in breed means they're just best in that sector. And then we look at companies that are on an uptrend, but just having a bad day. So a lot of the companies that we've been investing in are companies like, they are the Amazon and the Facebooks and Adobe, some of the best companies in the world. But when the market fell, that's when we were looking to get in, and we were able to make money as it came back up, because we know how to find good companies and then how to pick them when they're having a bad day. And we can do that through charts and different things that I teach in the course, in the Trade and Travel program. But Candace, would you even say that like you were able to make money when the market was coming down versus other traders?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you hear in the news, oh, the market's crashing, and we're making money because that's what Terry has trained us to do. So the news is completely different than the reality of trading. That's what I learned through this course.
For sure. And I'm sure some of you guys have even noticed the market's been at all-time highs right recently. The S&P 500 re-met its highs from February. The NASDAQ hit new highs. The NASDAQ is technology companies. So that hit new highs. And I'm sure you guys were like, this is not reality. People are unemployed. People are sick. But the stock market was still doing very well. So it's just being able to take advantage of those things versus just being on the sidelines and not knowing. And then another tip I wanted to give you guys was about margin accounts. And we're going to talk about margin accounts in a couple more slides, but that's huge. So once again, we're not doing penny stocks. Penny stocks are too risky. Don't do penny stocks. And if you want a note for just a good app that you can use to get started, CNBC is a huge resource that I would encourage you guys to download. Download it on your cell phone. You can put some of the companies, like remember I was telling you some of the companies we're investing in, put those companies on your watch list. And then CNBC is really cool because as you click into each of these companies, it'll tell you the stock price. And then it also will tell you news. So it'll notify you on your cell phone. So that's something to definitely add to your phone if you're thinking that, hey, this is something that I do want to learn a little bit more about. That's a good first step. And this one says, it'll be our little secret. I can't tell you all my secrets, but one secret that I did want to tell you about, and I'm going to skip this one for now. As I said, you guys can look at the full thing, but I wanted to tell you this one. So this secret is huge. So one of the advantages that we really have is using margin accounts. And this is a secret that I tell you, like I get the most scathing reviews and the most scathing comments when I share this with our people. And when I say our people, just anybody who doesn't know about the stock market and really wants to do well at the stock market. But I get the most scathing comments when I share this. But y'all, this is what people in the stock market are using to make larger returns. And it's called a margin account. And your margin account, it will allow you to invest 2 to 4 times what your actual account size is. And I know some of you guys are already getting nervous. You're like, Terry, that sounds risky. It is more risky. I'll tell you up front, it is more risky. However, in my trade and travel program, we have a full risk management plan. So we calculate our risk up front. We know how much each trade we're going to win and lose. So we actually have a pretty robust risk management plan to protect ourselves from losing. So you don't have to worry about the losing part as much with margin accounts. But this is where you just need to know that it's available. Like this type of stuff is important for us to know. So if you have, it really starts at the 2,000 level. But if you have $2,000, they actually let you trade with 4 times that. We use a brokerage called TradeStation. So you actually, with 2,000, you can trade with $8,000 of buying power. With 5,000, you could trade with $20,000 of buying power, right? This one is not right. So I think this was supposed to be a multiple choice question. This one and this one are correct because it's 4 times your buying power. But why is that important? Because on this last slide, I put up different ways right now that we're having access to money. So, and this is like this, some of this may apply to you, some of it may not, but I just want to just make it aware, like get you thinking. So right now with the stimulus check, these are all the ways that you can get money. There's disposable income, your stimulus check, student loan relief, 401k fee deferral, unemployment check increase, small business loans, and FHA mortgage payment relief. So all of these are ways that the market is putting money into our pockets because of the stimulus, right? So now just imagine if you were now able to 4 times that amount. So if someone was on unemployment and they were getting $600 extra a week, that actually turns into $2,400 of buying power that they have in the stock market. And if they were investing that $2,400 of buying power, now just imagine, and the market is now at all-time highs, how much money could they really have been making during this coronavirus time if they even knew that that was possible, right? So that's a secret that I really want more people to know, because in addition to this, like the ability to have a higher buying power with margin accounts, another really important factor about margin accounts is it teaches you how to make, or it allows you to make money on the way down. So there's something in the market, and I think this slide comes up a little later. This is just does everything make sense? Using a margin account will let you afford to buy more valuable companies, which is better than penny stocks. I hope y'all get that. But there's y'all got to go back and watch this whole webinar because it's so good. But I want to just, I want to hit this point for you all, especially as doctors. So with the margin accounts, one other benefit is that you're able to make money on the way down. And if you have a regular brokerage account, so some of you guys may have open already a Charles Schwab or an E-Trade or a Ameritrade account, but you just opened a regular cash account. If you have a regular cash account, you can't short sell, which is what we do to make money on the way down. You can't do that in a regular account. You have to have a margin account. So if the market does fall, if we start going through a recession or anything else like that and the market comes down, if you don't have the right account open, you can't take advantage. So one of the first action items out of this call, of course, would be to get into the course so we can teach you how to do this correctly. But another step would be you need to go and open a brokerage account for your investments. A margin brokerage account for your investments, so that once you do learn how to short sell, you can make money on the way down. But you can only do that in a margin account. Another benefit of that account, as I told you before, is you also have a higher buying power. So you'll be able to make more money and make it when the market's going up and down with a margin account. Okay, so that's just something I feel like you should know how to do or know about. Yes, a pro tip, open a margin account. Yes, Candace, definitely. All right. Okay. One quick example of how this works, because I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, like, well, Terry, how does that really work? Show me a little bit more so I can understand. So this is Miss Baylor, and is Miss, I think, and you know what? I'm not sure if Miss Baylor is actually a doctor as well. She might be, but this is Miss Baylor, and she traded the trading desk, TCD. It's a stock. But if you don't have to read this whole thing, but one of the coolest things she said in here is like, Terry, I made $1,200 swing trading in less than 12 days. So when we talk about that extra, oh, there we go, that extra $200 a day, like she made $1,200 in less than 12 days. And the way she did it is by trading TTD. And let me show you some pictures of it. So in our class, we do pictures. You have to share a screenshot when you share your wins, because we're trying to help 1,000 students make $1,000 in a day. That's $1 million in a day. So as students are reaching that goal, they have to send in a screenshot. So Ms. Baylor sent in this screenshot. And so she had invested in, and don't worry, I know if you're new to trading, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this. But for TTD, she took this trade, and at the time, it was trading at $198, so about $200 a share. And if you look here, she shared with me that she traded 26 shares of that stock. So down here where it says market value, or actually look here at total cost, to make that trade, it cost $5,141. You guys with me? So she bought 26 shares of this stock at about $198. And that's her total cost, $5,141. At this time, she had a profit as well. That's what that 663 is showing us. But because it cost her $5,000, you would have assumed that she had to have $5,000 in her account. But check this out. Look at the bottom here where it says beginning of the day. She made that trade with only $2,600 in her account. And then look at the profit that she's gotten off of here. So with $2,600 in her account, she had made already, by the time she sent the picture to me, $663. And by the time she sold it, she had made $889 off of that trade. She had $2,600 when she first started. She made $889. So you guys see, like, that's a 33% return on her investment. But how did she do that? She did it because she had a margin account. By having that bigger buying power, she was actually able to buy a few more shares than what her account size actually was. And that allowed her to have a bigger return. So does that make sense? So that's why these margin accounts are important. And it's not that you have to have huge amounts of money that you're using to trade with, but it does allow you to make bigger gains and reach those daily and weekly goals a little faster. Okay, makes sense? Candace, that makes sense to you?
It does. You said the words, you swing trade.
Yes.
I don't know if people know what that means.
Okay, so when you're trading stocks, if you buy a stock and sell that same stock in the same day, that's a day trade. But if you buy the stock and then hold it for a few days to a couple weeks, maybe even to a few months, it's called a swing trade. Long-term investing is if you buy that stock and then hold it more than a year, then they call it long-term. But what we're doing is called active investing because we're holding it short-term, which is less than a year. So that's a swing trade.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for asking, because I would just keep going like you guys knew that. Secret number 2, how to the number one way to protect your investments and make money even if the market goes down. So we talked a little bit already about the and I'm skipping forward a little bit so we have more time. We talked a little bit already about how to have the margin account and like the type of account you need to make money on the way down. But many people don't even know you can make money on the way down. And it's like, yes, you can. It's totally false that you can only make money on the way up. You can totally make money on the way down. And it's called short selling. And then I'm going to keep going here too so we can push forward. That's just saying that you can have a plan. But one of the things, so you guys, I told you about margin accounts for making money on the way down. But also, I want to tell you a little bit about how do you protect yourself from losing. So here, I put up Steph Curry here because whenever he takes a free throw, there's a 98% chance that he's going to make the free throw. Even though free throws are, you can't calculate whether you're going to win or lose on a free throw. There's a chance that you might not make the basket. But when you have Steph Curry on the line, he's 98% chance of making it. And we can actually do something similar in trading. So yes, trading is risky. Yes, trading is not, some people say, well, you can't time the market. Some people call it a gamble. It's not a gamble if you have like Steph Curry on the line. And it's not a gamble if you learn how to calculate your reward to risk ratio. One thing that we do to help us with that is we put in a order type called a stop loss. And a stop loss is an order. So say if you're looking at this picture here, if I enter a trade right here and I'm able to calculate from charts how much my reward is, I'm also able to calculate how much my risk will be on that trade. And I can put in a stop order type to protect myself from losing. And what is a stop? So a stop is kind of like this buoy on a zip line. Have any of you guys zip lined before? Tell me in the chat. Has anybody in here gone on a zip line? I'm going to wait. I'm just seeing if anyone in the chat has been on a zip line before. Okay, so Neil says yes. Tiffany says no. India says me. Wonderful. Okay, so a zip line is when you're like, you're on that cable and you're going down a mountain and you're just flying through the trees. And it's just like I'll show you. You see my picture here. So this was me on one in Puerto Rico. So I was just zooming through these trees, but then all of a sudden at the bottom, right before you get to the platform, you hit this thing and it slows down all your momentum. And so this is me zooming through. Let me see if y'all see the second picture. See, it just stops you. You can't go any further. You hit that buoy, but that's what a stop loss does too. If the stock market starts coming down and you're in a stock, it will take you out of the trade so that you save your money. And if the stock keeps falling down, then you're okay because you're out of the trade now, right? And how many of you guys wish that when coronavirus had first came, you had something to get you out of the trade as the market was falling down? That's what a stop loss does. And if you're able to put in a stop loss, then you're also able to calculate your risk because now you know, hey, if this stock comes down $3, I'm getting out of it. So my risk is only $300. Let's say you had 100 shares. That's the risk I have on this trade. So you can go and do your job. You can, live your life not being afraid and not having to worry about your investment because you know what the risk is up front. And also for my scholars out there, if you know your risk, then you can calculate the probability of a trade because now you can calculate your reward to risk ratio. And you know that, hey, I'm only getting into trades that have a high probability of being successful, right? So it's like there's so many things you can do with investing. I think we just don't know about it because nobody taught us, right? So adding a stop loss to all your all your accounts, your personal and all the ones you personally manage, including your retirement, is a good pro tip. Mm-hmm. So does this make sense that putting in a stop loss to set your risk helps you calculate higher probability trades and lead to far less risky trades? And this is one of my students who did it. So this student here, he actually I taught him about all of my mistakes, and we had like a whole class on it in trade and travel. But I taught him about all the mistakes I had made and then the solutions to all those mistakes. And so you see here, he showed a graph of what he had done after he had put into practice the things I taught him. So he was like, hey, Terry, just wanted to show you how your class affected my week. Avoiding those 5 mistakes and not being greedy paid off. I'm ready for next week to see if I can stay consistent. Thanks again. But yeah, just by learning how to put in stops at the right places and learning that risk management can all of a sudden take your trading to the next level and bring more gains to you. All right, top 5 mistakes that I've made. Yeah, I know everybody's like, Terry, so you're pretty successful at trading, but have you ever made a mistake? Yes. Which we talked about some just a second ago, but here's some of the top mistakes that traders make. And here I'm going to put them up quickly and then go over them just a little bit. But some of the biggest mistakes that I see traders making are investing without a plan. Like what I have is a 7-step trading plan, and that's what I teach my students. So I'm teaching them in trade and travel the 7 steps that I take every time I take a trade. And if they follow those 7 steps, then that will lead them to more consistent gains. What I found is there's some traders that they may have a great trade here, but then lose big here because they don't follow a plan. And so investing without a trading plan is one big mistake. Not seeking the correct mentors and coaches. I also have some traders that decide that they're going to have like YouTube University teach them how to trade. And I will tell you right now, one, traders that are giving information for free are probably not going to give you the secrets to make $1,000 a day, which is what like my students are trying to make. And then if you do find a lot of good information for free, oftentimes it's going to be jumbled up. So remember, I was telling you about this plan of these are the 7 steps. Well, if you're listening to one trader over here who trades Forex, that's going to be different than this person over here who's doing gap trading, which is different than this person over here that's doing something else. So when you're trying to figure it out all by yourself and not finding the right coaches, then that also can lead to a lot of wasted time and bad information. Then buying and selling trades based on emotion. This is one of the hardest things to crack. If you were trading over the last 3 months of coronavirus, your emotions would have told you, and it's more than just coronavirus. We also had George Floyd, we had unemployment. There were just so many things going on at the same time. We're in quarantine. So if you were trading based on your emotion, you would have thought everybody in the world is not doing well right now, so the market has to be going down. But you also would have been incorrect because over the last 3 months, the market has been going up and up and up, and investors have been making billions and billions of dollars in the last 3 months. So there's a difference between trading on your emotion and trading what the chart actually says. And that's what you got to learn how to do. How do I trade what the chart says versus how I'm feeling? Okay. And I get it. Like for me with quarantine and then all the stuff going on lately, I've just been like, Lord, is the world ending soon? Because there's no real point to continuing if the world is ending tomorrow. Like, what are we doing right now? But so trading based on emotions is one. And then number 4, holding on to losing trades way too long. So what I've also seen, and this is some of the worst advice that I've heard, but it's still prevalent. Someone is losing on a trade, and the advice that they get is, well, just hold on to it. It'll eventually go up. So just keep holding on to it. And they keep holding on, and the loss just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually they decide, like they're so like distraught about it, they decide to just close up all their investments and they just don't want to look at it. So they're like, well, I'm just not going to look at it for a couple of years and hopefully it'll come back up. But guys, the worst advice was that first advice that said, just hold on to it and it'll eventually come back up, because that's actually not true. For a lot of, it might be true for some trades, but for a lot of investments, Like, it's better to cut the loss short. When you're losing in the beginning, cut it short, and then you can always get back in on the way back up, but you don't have to ride it all the way down. But we've been told that so long with the whole buy and hold long-term investing, that just buy it and hold on to it till retirement. But there's a lot of stocks that are not going to do well. Like one like very memorable moment I remember with this is I had a lady who came to me, and someone had gifted her some option stock, and or options is a type of investment, but they had gifted her these stocks. And she was asking me, well, Terry, should I hold it or should I let it go? And I looked at the chart, and it was just one big down. Like, over the last few years, the stock has just lost. And my thought was, man, I really think she should take it out now, because if she waits any longer, it was options, so they have an expiration date. It's going to expire worthless. And so this investment that she was originally given as a gift is now not worth any money. But that's because she didn't know that she could get out of the trade. She thought she just had to hold it, because that's the normal advice, buy and hold. But like, now she had a trade, or she has a gift that's not worth anything because she held on too long. Right? So we got to learn how to know when to get out of a trade and when to hold on. And then this last thing, thinking you have to buy and hold, which is what I just talked about, in order to make money. And that's just a myth. All right. All right. So I'm going to keep going faster. This was just an example, and you guys will see this if you go to itradeandtravel.com, you can see this again if you want to see like the full presentation. But this was just an example of how a couple years ago, if you had Facebook stock and held it all year, you actually were down, versus if you had gotten out of it up here, came down, got into it again, and then rode it back up. Like, there were so many times where you could have made money that year, but just by buying and holding, you were actually down. Okay, so I hope this makes sense, that trading in and out of a position can help you make consistent income, which can actually lead to better returns than buy and hold. Okay, and one great example of this is Keisha. And Keisha had made her first, this one, she had made $1,250 a day. And then later on, she had actually made $1,900 in a day. But what I loved is right in here, she said that also just the fact that you've taught me how to not hold on to trades. I've sold almost all of my long-term holds, which has been such a blessing with the tariff mess. At that time, we were dealing with a lot of China tariffs, and so the market was falling. And she's like, I appreciate you so much. So just for her to be able to know how to get out to save her money. And then she was like, today is my birthday, and I had to share the absolute best birthday gift to myself was purchasing your class. Today I made $1,900 with Amazon. So, and just imagine, like, this was a little while back. Now Amazon has doubled in price since when she shared this with me. So I know that she's done well, right? It's a skill set that you can have for life. And then that last secret, how you can make $1,000 a day without spending hours on end in front of your computer. And this is the part where I think some of you guys are like, Terry, this sounds great, and I would love to invest, but I just don't have the time. And I want to just remind you that when I was first starting to invest, I was doing it as an assistant principal. So I also was doing it as a side hustle while I was dealing with kids forever in school and having bad kids sit in my office all day. But the way that I figured out how to reduce the time is by looking at charts. And we actually look for formations. We're not looking for these kind of rising wedge and different things. I teach a different technique, so don't want to get you off base by the picture. But by learning how to read charts, that's what teaches you how to reduce your time, right? That was a huge game changer for me. Another big thing is I want you guys to limit the number of stocks that you're watching. So I have a watch list of 20 to 30 companies that I've been watching for years. You can even limit that down too. If you have 10 companies or so that you really know how to read their charts for and know how they trade, then you can make consistent income with just a small number of stocks. I have a few students that just focus on one stock. Like one of my students, she just trades Google every day, and she makes her goal. Just one stock. And an example of this, if you guys zoom in here, so I was at a conference recently, and this one, just look at this day right here. So this week I had made a $1,010, $1,400 on Tuesday, didn't trade Wednesday. And this conference, like, we didn't have good Wi-Fi, so there was so much going on. I lost some money Thursday, so I don't want you to think that you're always going to win, but your goal is to make your average over that week. So my goal was $1,000 a day. And so I made $5,000 Friday. My average for that month or that week, I made $6,000. So the average was over $1,000 a day. Does that make sense? I feel like I was stuttering a little bit, but this is how much I made each of those days. This is just a total because I don't trade on the weekends, but I made an average of $1,000 a day, even though I lost one day. And then, but look at these numbers because we're talking about timing. So 1,010, 1,400, 5,400. Now, I have an app on my cell phone that tells me how much time I spend on things. Have you guys seen this app? Candace, have you seen this app before? No? Okay. It shows you how long you're on an app, and it's in the iPhone. But if y'all check this out, so this was the time that I had spent on those days. So that day that I made, let me see if it zooms in. Yeah. So the day that I made $1,010, I actually had only spent 48 minutes trading because TradeStation is my trading app. I did that in 48 minutes. Gotcha. And then that next day when I made $1,400, I did that in an hour and a half. And this was not even all at one time. It was in and out. So like I'd come out of a conference, check my cell phone, because you can do this on your cell phone. So I would check my cell phone, see how my stocks were doing, and then I'd go into the next session, right? Mm-hmm. And then that day where I made $5,400, again, I had only spent a total of an hour and a half trading that day to make $5,000 in that day. Mm-hmm. So for those that are like, it takes so much time, it doesn't. If you learn how to read charts, and I'll teach you how to do that, if you learn how to read charts, it doesn't take you that much time. What normally takes a lot of fundamental traders a lot of time is all the research. Oh, it takes me, hours and hours to research and this and that. For me, I do know my stocks pretty well. Like I make sure that I know their news, but a lot of times I do that up front. And then on a regular basis, I may trade a little bit in the morning because I want to see how the stock is doing. I check my phone at lunchtime just to kind of say, okay, how are they doing? And then at the end of the day, the last hour of the trading day, I tend to go back in and see if I want to adjust anything in my portfolio. Do I want to buy something new for the next day or sell something and go ahead and take a profit? But all in all, like that said, I'm usually not trading more than two hours, at max 4 hours a day. And oftentimes, as when you're a newer trader, it takes you more time. When you become more experienced trader, it takes you less time. So for me now, I can usually make my gains in like the first 30 minutes to I won't even say, sometimes I do watch more. So in the first couple hours, I'm usually pretty done. And then at nighttime, I will kind of look at my stocks just to see how they did for the day.
There's a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
India's asking, what are you starting with money-wise? She says, normally it takes a larger amount of money to receive those returns, correct? Or 1,000 a day?
Yes. So what I usually tell students is your money goal should be 1% of your cash amount a day. So your goal should be 1% of your cash amount a day. So if you're trading with $10,000, then you're trying to make $100 a day. If you're trading with $20,000, you're trying to make $200 a day. For me, though, once I got to $30,000, I could make $300 a day. But also, I got so experienced that I actually started making $1,000 a day with just the $30,000. And that's what I actually teach my students to do. So either in their SIM account or their regular account, I tell them set it for 30,000, and then your goal is to master the skill set so much that you're able to make $1,000 a day with 30,000 in your account. So that's kind of expectation that you can think about. But a lot of my students do start with less. So you saw Miss Baylor, she had started with just 2,500 in her account. Carlene had 200. So as you're learning the skill set, we give you a simulator where you can trade with fake money. So you don't have to worry about that as you're learning, but you also can start with a smaller amount, see some consistency, and then start adding money to your account. Does that answer that question? Hope so. All right. And this was the last secret. So I'll finish this up and then we'll be able to go into the question and answer. So hopefully you see that by focusing on a small number of positions, getting familiar with their charts, that it actually will lead you to spending less time with trading. And one great example of this is Annette. And she actually was a registered nurse for 20 plus years and just recently retired so that she can trade full time. And she was telling me in this message, and it's kind of hard to see, but down over here, she was like, I was done in 20 minutes. And she had made $2,600 that day in just 20 minutes of trading. And she actually made it. If you look at this chart, she made it on the way down. So she was actually shorting Amazon. I think I do zoom in a little there. There we go. So it's really interesting what you can do with stocks. I hope that during this presentation, at least it opened your mind up to what's possible and just another way to generate income. And so now it's kind of up to you. Like, now are you ready to open your trading account, pick good companies, put in stop losses, read charts, do short sales, and make money in any market? And I will ask too, because remember that was our goal. We're trying to make $200 a day, $48,000 a year. Is there anybody in here that would like to know how to work with me or more about the class? Because I could share that too before we go into the Q&A. Okay, cool. I see some yes, I would. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about that, and then that way, as we're doing the question and answer, you guys can look into the class some more. And Candace, do you want to put your link in there with the class? Because then that way they can kind of look at that too when we go to Q&A.
Oh, I have to see how to do that.
Okay.
The link to, you mean the link to iTrade and Travel?
No,
Which
your
link is?
Invest with Terry link.
Oh, okay.
To the course.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
So this is Joanne there. And Joanne actually spent, just FYI guys, Joanne spent $45,000 working with other people to learn how to invest in stocks. And then she came to me and was like, Terry, I spent all this money learning how to invest and I'm not investing. I'm too afraid. I don't really understand what I'm doing. Can you help me? And so Joanne came to my class and she started working with me. And you can actually see here, and Candace, you might want to put your phone back or your thing back on mute. But you can see here that she actually had made some money. So she was like, yes, I'm making some money. And so she had made $2,777 in a day, joined our $1,000 in a day club. And before working with me, she hadn't made any money investing and she had just spent $45,000, right? And then she comes to my class and now all of a sudden she's making money. So y'all know that she bought my class and then also she bought it for her daughter too, because she's like, you're the best teacher. And I do hear that a lot, right? Some of the things that I hear from my students, and these are like some testimonies from them, but I just hear that I'm a really good teacher. And maybe that's the 10 years in the education field, but you see here, Terry's an incredible instructor. And then from Uche, Terry's a natural born teacher. So that's one thing that you can look forward to is I'm a teacher. And so you don't have to have a lot of money to get started. This was Carlene, but you also can be a newbie. You don't have to worry about, I'm new to this. Can I get started? Yes, I can take you from any level and help you reach higher goals. And from a university, like if you were to learn how to trade stocks at a university, it's $80,000. And I'm thinking like your MBA. You go get an MBA and still they don't really teach you, because I went to Sloan at MIT and they still don't really teach you. You have to learn on the fly. And then I worked in investment banking and they still don't teach you how to invest for yourself. So then, or you can go to a trade school, and there's some schools that are specifically for teaching you how to trade, but those are usually 30,000 or more. So Joanne had gone to one of these and spent 45,000. None of the teachers look like us. None of the people that were trading are actually trained teachers, like they don't teach well. And then she felt lost. So then you come to my class And my class actually is valued at $20,000. And because we're on this call, I'm actually going to give you a really, really great discount at the end of this. But our my program has been analyzed and evaluated, and it's worth 20,000 or more now because we've added some more goodies to it. But this is like all the stuff that you get in the class. It's an online course that you can take anytime. So even if you're busy doing rounds or something else, you can look at it on your cell phone. You can take it at any time at your own pace. We do have coaching calls though. And so here's all the stuff that you're going to get in the program. So the trade and travel online course, and it's here at 9,000. You also get student only Facebook group, which has all of our students. So now we're at 1,800 students that have come through my course. So you have all these alumni that are also able to answer your questions in the Facebook group. And can you imagine having 1,800 students who all have learned the same system of trading? So all of them trade like me, and they're all looking for opportunities. So that too has been a big blessing because you have somebody throw out, hey, look at this stock because it's actually at a buyer's level, or look at this one. And so now that becomes like this incubator of good ideas. So that's pretty cool too. Then you have my Invest with Terry roadmap, that 7-step strategy I told you guys about. You learn about that in the school. Then I also give you my watch list. So part of the hardest part of trading is picking good companies. So you're going to get my watch list that actually works because I've been using it for 10 years and I look at it all the time. You're also going to get an IWT risk reward calculator. So that's that calculator I told you about that says like, is this a good trade? Is my reward 3 times my risk? And then we have some perks from our broker. We actually are partnered with TradeStation, that broker I was showing you. We have a partnership with them, and they have waived all the fees for our trade. So we have 0 commission trades in equities. You do still pay a small thing for options trading, but they refund you 20% of your options fees up to the cost of my class. They pay for the class when you're trading options. Also, they waived all the data fees, which could be up to $100 a month. So that's like $1,200 a year of savings, and you get that plan for life. And then you also get access to that simulator with opening the account for just $500, $500 entry fee. Usually to open an account with TradeStation, because they're 4 active traders, is more expensive, but we get access to just $500, right? So all those perks come from TradeStation. You also get a vault of all of my coaching calls from last year. And I've heard that people love the coaching calls. Like they're like, you talk about stuff on those coaching calls that like you just don't say in the other times. So you get access to all of my coaching calls from last year, which is over 48 hours of coaching. And then you get also some other support from guest speakers. So like we have Alexander Mason come on, and Alexander, he actually was a professional trader on Wall Street, went broke and homeless from trading, and now teaches other traders how to not reach that stage. So you get support from him, emotional support. He came in and did 2 guest speaking speaking engagements with us and our students recently to just get their minds right for trading. So all of this is $20,000 worth of value for my trade and travel course. And that's that Facebook group that we talked about. This is some of our VIP students, LaCourie and Gerald, and both of them. Actually, LaCourie is now at $14,000 in a day. So this was before she started making bigger amounts. And then Gerald also has beat his $937 in a day. Those are some of our first VIPs. And some of you guys may wonder, like, Terry, why is the course $20,000? Like, why didn't you make it really cheap? And honestly, like, I think you guys know as doctors, like we have a choice when you're giving service to someone. You could make it really inexpensive to try to get in as many people as possible. But then if it's really inexpensive, then you as the service provider don't have any incentive to actually give the service because they're not paying you very much. Or you can make it a little bit more expensive, have less people in the course, but be able to give higher value. And that's what I decided. I made it a little bit more expensive of an investment, but then I've packed it with everything that I think people will need to be successful. Right. So that's kind of how I decided to make my choice. So again, the course is $20,000. And don't forget, stay on to the end because Candace has worked out a deal for you guys. So you get a deal. But bonus, then there's a couple bonuses. And I actually forgot that these bonuses were even here. So they are not supposed to be here, but since y'all are here, you can get it. So we made this anniversary bundle. I had my 2-year trade and travel anniversary recently, and I made a bundle with all of my videos from just the last 2 years that are not in the course. So you'll get all those videos, which is really cool. Then you'll get another bonus, which is I made a master class for Travel Noir. And Travel Noir is like for those that don't know, it's a group of like young travelers, and they like it's just this really cool community, and it's under Blavity now, so it's like people of color that love to travel, and I made a master class for them, so you'll get access to that as well. And so if all this did was allow you to learn a new skill so that you could generate income for the rest of your life, would it be worth it? If all this did was make an extra $200 a day, which is $48,000 a year, every year moving forward, if all it did was give you the confidence to self-manage your 401k for higher returns, or if it gave you just more time with your family, would it be worth it? Because you can now afford to work 1 to 2 days a week. Would it be worth it? And with those bonuses, it actually comes up to $24,000 worth of value that you're getting. And we know that it could be a good deal even at $10,000. So now here is the bonus. Here's the value that Candace and I. So just for $19.97, we're going to give you guys the course. So 90% off. Candace, and you know I need to raise my prices. So people should know now. They're like, you should get it now. But yeah, so we give you all of that value for $19.97. And you guys don't have to go here. Look in the chat. I think Candace actually put a link in there to her direct link. Candace, did you find it to put it in the chat? Yep. So you guys can click on that link and it'll go straight to the course. Cool. And Emma, I see your question. So now let's go ahead and go to the question and answer time. You're on mute, Candace.
Thank you. Emma had a question, and I think Neil had a question, which I said I would get to as well.
Okay.
So I think he wanted to know how long did it take you to get to the 30,000? I'm trying to find his question in here.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you guys a couple of variations of that question. So one question would be, how did you get the money to first get started? Well, in every job that I had, I would invest in my 401k up to the match. So in several of the jobs, what I could put up to 5% of my salary in, and then they would match it. So I ended up leaving those jobs, and you can roll money into a different account. So I rolled money into a self-directed IRA and started investing with the IRA with my retirement. Then once I became good and wanted to fully go out on my own, I moved that money into a cash account. And there was a penalty at the time, but if you all were to do this now, the CARES Act is actually not giving you a penalty for taking money out of your 401k. So you guys can move money now, and I actually encourage that because we're near all-time highs again. Take it out while you're back to even from if you had lost money before. You probably are kind of close to where you were. You could take it out now without that 10% penalty for early withdrawal. And then you can move it into something that's self-managed. I would still invest it, but just manage it yourself so that you have more ability to use it and more flexibility to put in those stop losses and different things. So that's how I got the money at first. And then how much did I start with? I started originally with 16,000, and then I kept moving money from 401ks and retirements and then saving money. So when I first stepped out to be full-time, I had 35,000. So that's how much I traded with. And for a long time, even I'm a millionaire now, but for a long time, I didn't trade with more than 30,000. I would just stay at that range because that's where I was comfortable. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So Emma is asking, how did you learn? Trial and error?
So I've been trading now for 10 years. The first 6 years was trial and error, and it sucked. I didn't make a lot of money. But then I decided to start going to some classes. So I did go to some of those trading schools that were $30,000. My school cost $20,000 per class.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I took several classes. So I spent a whole lot of money for education. And I will say, I still had those teachers that couldn't really teach. I started taking what they were teaching me and putting it with my own kind of system that I had been putting into place. And that's how I got down my trading plan of my 7 steps. That's how I learned it. Mm-hmm.
So Anthony asks, you mentioned that you had 1,800 students. What is the average daily income of your students? And what percentage of your students make 1,000 per day? I'm gonna answer at least a portion of that second
Okay, go
question.
ahead.
Is it
Hey!
backwards? So I don't. It's backwards because of the camera, but Terry awards these to people who make $1,000 a day, and you get into the $1,000 a day club. So I got into the $1,000 a day club. So that I'm one person.
Wait, hold that up again. I'm going to take a
Okay.
picture. Oh, that's so cool. Yay. I love it.
Yep. It's a good motivator. So go ahead, Terry. Then I'll let you answer
Sure.
that one.
So we've been doing this $1,000 in a day initiative since February. So I can tell you concrete numbers since February. Before that, it's kind of hard to do an average of all students because some just started and haven't finished the class. Other ones, life happens and they haven't finished because it's an online course and you can take it at your own pace. But what I can tell you is since February, we've had over 177 students hit the $1,000 in a day mark, and many of them made more than $1,000 in a day. So we've had students making anything from the $350,000 in a day to $1,000 in a day. And then we have some that are just excited about making $100 or even $20. Like my cousin takes the class, and for him, he just wanted enough to pay for his car payment. So he only had 2,000. Well, for a little while, he only had $500 in his account. Then he moved it up. Like now I think he's made it to 10,000, but he just needed to pay for his car payment. So he just wanted to make $10 a day so that he could pay for his car note and not have to take that money away from his family. So it really will depend on how much money each student is trading. So it's harder to give you an average, but I do know we have over 177 students in the $1,000 in a day club. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nicole is asking, she's asking me, how much time do you spend trading now and do you follow a schedule every day? So one of the things that Terry recommends is that we on Sundays start to look at our plan for the week. And so that's what I do. I'm following her strategy, and I also, in the class, I made some other friends, and on Sundays, some other days during the week, we'll get together and talk on our strategy. So now I've been doing this, almost 8 months. We're pretty quick now. So to be honest, it doesn't take me a whole lot. On a Sunday, maybe an hour and a half to get everything together, sometimes less than that. And then I'll look at it during the week. That's the fun part. So we like to be in there looking at looking at our stocks. So I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so. But you get good at it. And again, I have a lot to learn still, but you pretty much do it every day and you get good at managing it.
That's great. That's great. I love hearing you talk about it because you're like my student. So it's so exciting. Yes. Any other questions? And if anybody's looking for that link, it's here in the class. Right now in July, we're doing, and I was going to copy it in here too. But right now in July, right now in June, I'm actually coaching live. So if you get in now, you actually have a bonus of getting to hear me on Tuesdays. We start like every month at the first of the month. We kind of start over with the curriculum. So like we're in the second week right now because we started a little later in June. We're in the second week going over risk management, but you can still catch in now. This is a great time to get in because then you can hear me teaching live. Sometimes, like in July, I'm going to go on vacation for the summer. So you won't hear me teach live. You'll see the recordings of the coaching calls, and that's still fine. It works just the same. But if you do join now, you have that benefit of hearing me, which is really cool.
So Chantal is asking, what do you think about trading apps like Robinhood?
Robinhood is cool, but it broke down during coronavirus. And so I think you need a more robust brokerage. Some of the things that I like about TradeStation are I like that it does faster entry times. So if I make a trade and then someone else makes a trade, and I'm sorry y'all if y'all are hearing a buzz, but if I make a trade and then someone else makes a trade on Robinhood, I'm going to get a faster entry. So I'm going to get a better price than they are. And I've actually like split test this with me on TradeStation and my student on Fidelity, and I got a better price. So I made more money on the trade than he did, even though we both did the trades at the same time. So there's just the ability to enter a trade faster. Then also that margin I was telling you about. Robinhood, I'm not even sure if they do margin accounts, but if they do, they don't do 4 times your buying power. So you got to be careful of that. And many of the other ones like Merrill Edge only does 2 times your buying power. So even if it's a better, more reputable broker, they still may not give you that buying power. And then the entry types. So we do 2 exits at a time, or we have the ability to do 2 exits of a trade at a time. So we can put in our target for where we want to make our profit, and we can put in our stop to protect ourselves from losing. Some apps only let you do 1 at a time. And so you're not able to put in that bracket order. So I personally like more robust brokerage accounts, like TradeStation for that reason, but Robinhood's a good place to start. So it's not bad. It's just not as good as some of the other things.
Didn't you say that your accountant joined the class?
She did, which was such, like, to me, that was a huge testimony. Like, if she sees all my numbers, y'all. So she sees all the things that I've traded the last 2 years. She sees all my finances, and she joined the class, and she actually she had her first $1,000 in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, like 2 months ago. And then recently she made $4,000 in a day.
Whoa.
Yes. And she
That's
said her
cool.
husband was just flipping out because first of all, he didn't believe in all this. And then she started doing it, and then he started getting into it too. So he told her, like, well, check out Macy's stock. And so she did it, and that's how she made her $4,000 a day. And so now they're doing it together as a team. But yep, my accountant joined the class, and my banker. So I bank at Regions Bank, and he just joined the class. So everybody around me is like, okay, Terry, we see your numbers. What are you doing?
That's pretty cool. So Tanya's asking, will the recording be available? Yes. Yeah. It will be available. So that's a yes. And Anthony Griffith, do you trade in groups? Do you work in groups like a signaling service? For example, agreeing in a group to open a trade at X dollars, exit at Y dollars, or are you on your own? So I'll answer, how it works, for me, and Terry, of course, you can answer as well. But within the larger group, you're going to make friends, and that's on Terry's Facebook group. And from that group, I formed a subgroup of about 4 friends, and we follow the rules. We talk. We pretty much talk every day, and they could be talking right now. And one of our people in my group is in Korea, and she's American, but she's an expat, and we're all over the world. And so my 4 we're friends, and we talk about trading a lot. Go ahead, Terry.
That's so awesome. Because, like, that's one of the things that I've always prayed for, to like help build community. So it's so cool for me to hear you say, like, yeah, like we built community from this. That's really cool. But the classes, it's an online course, and so you can take it by yourself. You'll learn everything on your own. And my goal is for you to learn how to trade your own money on your own. And then we have weekly coaching calls. And so that's where you may hear some advice from me, or I have some instructional coaches now too. So you may hear some advice from us on one of those calls, but no, we don't do signaling. It's not a signaling service like everybody go buy this right now, or and it's not copy trading where you see what I'm trading. I teach you how to do this on your own. So how to pick your own good companies, how to protect your risk yourself, how to make sure that you're reading charts to find your own level so that you know when to get in and out of a stock. So I teach you how to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. I personally, like, you know how they say go teach a person how to fish and they'll never be hungry. I believe in that. Instead of you looking at me and I do real well, but then you get in a little late and don't miss the trade, I'd rather teach you how to do it so that you can do it anytime. Mm-hmm. I know you had, I don't see any other questions here, but I know you had some questions too that you had written down.
Okay, sure, I'll get to those. All right, so just a couple. How many students do you have?
I have over 1,800 now.
Okay.
Every day it's been kind of ticking up, but I think we might be at like 1847 or something like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have children, can I do this?
Yes, you can. Well, and Candace, maybe you can answer that better too. But yes, I have many students in my class who have kids, and they are still doing really well. And a lot of them are even teaching their kids. So they have not the grown kids. The grown kids need to buy the class themselves. But anybody under 18, so they have kids of all ages, and their kids are now starting to learn how to invest with their parents.
I have an 11-year-old, and Terry is a star in our house. They know this webinar is happening. The 11-year-old says, Terry's on, Terry's on.
Oh!
So, so they learn the terminology, and it's normal for them. So let's see. And let's see, why are you teaching? Why are you doing this?
I was ordained as a minister at church, and honestly, I know it sounds cliche, but I feel like this is kind of my calling right now. Like, this is my ministry. I was able to go to church like this weekend. Actually, I went to church and I gave away like $100,000 to my pastor for the
Wow.
church. Like, they're doing different things for coronavirus. They're like feeding the seniors and feeding the not they haven't been feeding the homeless as much lately because they've been working more on COVID. So like they went and delivered food to the hospitals and just different things. And so just my ability, I trade because I want to be able to give in that way. And then I teach because I just feel like more people, if we can reach more people and help them to build their wealth, then we can really impact the world. It won't be just me giving to my church, but all of us building things and building wealth. So
Okay.
that's why I
That's
teach.
couple other questions. Let's see. Tanya is asking, are there any students who have not made any money doing this?
Not that I know of. I know students who've lost because we all have losses,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know any students who haven't made any money. Most of them have made some money, but I will say when we start out, we start with simulator. So there are some
Mm-hmm.
students who join the course and they don't have a lot of money to actually invest. And while they're waiting to build up their accounts, they invest in their simulated account. So there are some
Mm-hmm.
students who are still in the simulator. I will say that. But no, not anybody that's told me they haven't made money. And I've had only only like a couple people ask for a refund out of the 1,800, and both of those people have told me they love the class, but for whatever reason, like they didn't have time or something happened. Like it was fluke things, but both of them are like, I really love the class. I'm gonna be back. So even yeah, like I haven't even gotten any bad information on that side. So
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Again, I'll say, I started with 500. I said, that's what I'm going to try to see if I can make money with. And I told the Facebook class, I said, I made 42 cents. Everybody cheers you on. A lot of them were seasoned pros and they were cheering me on. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
true.
a nice group. It's a nice group. Okay, so let's see. Do you do live trades?
Like Anthony asked, are you saying to copy trade? Like I trade live and then you watch my trade, or do I just trade live? Because so to answer one question is no, I trade from everywhere and I'm usually trading from my cell phone on the go. So it's usually not where I wait for a meeting of the students and then I place a trade. That's just not how I trade. But I will say lately we've done our VIP group. We've moved that to 2 p.m. Central Time. So there is another hour of trading. So sometimes now on the VIP we do have time to do some live trades, but it's not the fundamental of the class.
Okay. And Chantal says, how long did it take you to do the course? Okay. And how long did it take you to reach $1,000 a day? I, I think she's asking me. So I did, actually, I did a couple of courses with Terry. So the first course I took, it took me probably 4 weeks to get through it. Then I took a second course with Terry, and that course, I've actually taken that course multiple times. And you'll find that a lot of the people who are doing well will do that. So, at least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just because, like anything, repetition is going to make the information stick, and then you have to apply the information. So, I would say when I took the course in January, I think I got through it probably in about 6 weeks. And I mean, I was I was just reading everything. I was listening to all the recorded calls a couple of times. You know, I was forming my 4-person group, and we were going over stuff together. We'd be on the phone for 2 hours, just nitpicking every point. So, so it's so enjoyable. I guess I don't even really think about how long it took. But anyway, that's about how long it took.
Nice. And how long did it take you to reach $1,000 a day?
Oh, okay. So $1,000 a day, probably, maybe that happened for me in April. I can't even remember the first time. It may have happened in April or March. Um, so since I would say since January, so maybe 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
But I was making money all the time. I just hadn't made that $1,000 a day. So
that's awesome.
yeah, it really is a good feeling. Emma asks, Candace, do you mean 6 weeks full time? So no, I wasn't, I was still working, but I was just making time over those 6 weeks and to read and to listen to recorded calls and join classes, all those things. Terry was away. She was in South Africa, and she was teaching classes from South Africa. And so, yeah, it took about 6 weeks to really hammer and get everything down. So.
And it's mostly videos, guys. So I have some truck drivers who just put it on while they're driving in the car. So some of you guys may do the same, like between destinations, maybe on your way to work or coming home, you put it on and you're able to listen. It's good to look at the screen because I do a lot of visual slides and things, but just sometimes being able to kind of hear it in transit or on a break, you can do that. And I do see someone asked on here, can you share more about margin accounts? Is there a qualification process to obtain access to a margin account? So they don't check your credit. Some people wonder, like, are they checking your credit before they do? It's totally based on just your cash amount. But it is a real, like when you're going to apply for the account, it's a real bank. So they ask all the questions. Like some people are like, I didn't know they were going to ask me for my Social Security account. They do because it's a real bank, like you're opening a real bank account. But the qualifications for the margin is depending on the broker, they set their margin amount. So at TradeStation, they've already set that you get 4 times the buying power with margin. So you don't have to worry about like applying for 4 times or trying to get 2 times. Like it's already set. It's just a matter of checking the right box. So it's like the difference between a banking account and a savings account. It's a difference between a regular brokerage account and a margin account. You just check the box margin. It's really that simple. Another thing to know about it is that they charge you, like if you use the buying power in that one day and then sell the stock, you don't get charged any extra fees or interest. But if you hold it overnight, they charge you about $3 for every $10,000 that you borrow, or for every $1,000 that you're holding, they charge you like 26 cents. So it's really not, it's not something that you're gonna see like, oh man, if I'm using the money, like I have to pay these extra fees. It's really not, it's really not a big deal.
So Anthony asks, how do you get into the VIP class? And what is the benefit of this group? For example, what added value does VIP class bring?
Awesome. Yeah. So for the VIP class, so Anthony, if you click on the link that Candace put in there, and Candace, you may want to put it in there one more time. But if you, excuse me, if you click on that link and just scroll to the bottom, it says VIP 5000. So click that one. The bonuses are VIPs get 3 coaching calls that they can come to a week. So I do a master class with them on Mondays. So let me actually step back. For trade and travel, usually they'll come on Tuesdays and do coaching, but for trade and travel, that coaching is intended to just be like a Q&A. So it's not in depth. In VIP, you get more hands-on training from me. So I actually do a master class on Mondays with the VIPs, and we have a boot camp for all of our newer VIPs on Thursday. So it's a smaller group. We actually get to see your faces versus the bigger calls can be like, our last one on Tuesday had it had over 500 people on the call. So it's a little harder to be, to get your questions in. But when you're a VIP, we're able to do that small group on Thursday. So you really get more hands-on training. So the coaching calls, I think, and the more hands-on support is better for VIP. And then also in VIP, you get access to more training. So in trade and travel, you get the first 4 classes, which is intro to stocks, risk management, technical analysis, and then my 7-step strategy, my training, putting all the pieces together. So you get that in trade and travel, but it's focused on making money as the market goes up. So as the stock goes up in price, you can make money. The VIPs, they learn how to make money on the way down. So they have a 5th class, which is shorting. They learn how to make money on the way down. Then we go into gaps and Globex, which is, if something crazy happens over the weekend, how do you take advantage of that? And then we go into options. So I teach them, now that you know all this about stocks, how do you amplify that with options trading, which is another asset class. And options is like 100 stocks, 100 shares of a stock at a time. So we go into all of that in VIP. I personally think if you want to really trade the way I trade, it's better to do the VIP, which is the full system. But you can upgrade from trade and travel to VIP later. So you can start at trade and travel and then upgrade for just the difference later.
That's what I did. I started with the trade and travel, and I upgraded to VIP. So,
are there any more questions? I know we've been on here for a little while, so I don't want to take everybody's time. But any other questions that you all have? Cool. Well, Candace, is there anything else that you would like to say or end us on?
I think everybody should do this class, and so that's why I got this together. So it will make a difference for you. You have to study. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's something that you have to take time with and understand. But I think most of the people on this call are people who work hard. So this is something that you can do. And that's the other thing. This is very doable. This is very doable. So it can really impact you positively.
Amen. I think that's great. Oh, Anthony, you can do it right now. Anthony says, how long can we wait before we take up your 2000 training offer? You can do it now. I will tell you, honestly, it's better to try to get in this week because we're in our 2nd week of the June course. I think it'd be good to get in June if you can, because I'm thinking about stopping enrollment once I go on vacation. So it's better to try to get in now. So if you can get in by Friday, that would be the best.
Any other questions? I want to thank everybody for coming out. You know, coronavirus, I wish it would go away. But I want to thank everybody for being here and listening and learning. Yeah, exactly. Dr. Walker. And Dr. Farmer, thank you. And Terry, of course, thank you. You know, some of you who might listen to Sirius XM, thanks, Tiffany. Terry's on there. So, Terry, you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. I faithfully go on the Karen Hunter show and talk a lot about investing. Karen is amazing, and I love the Urban View channel. I've also been on a couple other channels on SiriusXM too, but definitely been more of a resource for them. It's been kind of cool to be like a news correspondent lately, especially with the market during COVID.
I bet. Oh, Nicole says that's where I first heard you.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Thanks, Ms. Farmer or Dr. Farmer.
Dr. Farmer, yep. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll end here. If, any other questions before we end? Okay. Terry, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for those who asked about the replay, I'm sure that Candace can send you guys later the replay and the link again. But make sure y'all go ahead and get into it fast if you can. All right.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Tanya.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Candace.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Good night.